Hello and welcome everybody to the Cross Ice Feed podcast. I'm David Stearns, joined with a host of people. We got, of course, Brian Schrembs, the usual culprit that's on the other side of the microphone. This time he's actually live and in person, not on the phone with me this time. And we also have some other special guests. But Schrembs, how are you this evening?
Fine.
Okay, all right. Well, listen, we're done with round two. Let's talk about how we did. I predicted the Red Wings in 6. You said Chicago in 6. Good for you, sir.
Thank you.
Actually are the winner in that one.
What about the other one?
Oh, the other ones, well, we both said L.A. in 5, and unfortunately we were both wrong as far as the number of games, but we got the team right. Didn't see that one having to go 7, but unfortunately it did, and San Jose still kind of bitter and hanging around. I mean, boy, that team has quite a history with trying to get out of that second round. Pittsburgh. Well, you just said Pittsburgh. You didn't give me the number of games. I said 6, and you said just Pittsburgh, and we were both right with that, sir. And then you're going to take the cake here, and you're going to totally, put me to shame here. You said the Boston Bruins is 7. I said the Rangers is 7. And unfortunately, I'm wrong.
the Rangers.
I chose the Rangers just because.
Stupid.
I felt bad for Tortorella. And hey, guess what? He's no longer coaching.
He's coaching Buffalo next year. Halfway through the season, he'll be in Buffalo.
You are a funny, funny man. So let's talk about this Eastern Conference Finals and Western Conference Finals here in the 2012-2013 playoffs. We have resident expert for the LA Kings, Rob Kelley, with us, and we don't have anybody to defend the Chicago side of things, but we're going to give Rob all the credit in the world here to talk about LA. You were pretty much raised out in the Wild West, and man, you got a great vintage LA Kings jersey going on here. Unfortunately, we are recording this right after the fact that they lost to the Chicago Blackhawks 2-1. Quite an intense game, but it seems like the intensity was more favoring Chicago. And how many shots did we see in that first period from LA? 3?
2 shots.
Two shots.
You were clearly over.
We shot 50%.
Oh, well, that's
pretty good. I like that. Yeah. I like the fact that you called me expert because I don't think you can name another Kings fan that you know.
Well, that's actually true.
It's my West Coast team.
Yeah, no.
My West Coast
Schrembs
team.
here won a bet last year, and he actually took home some money from Vegas,
Nice.
picking the Kings preseason, which was good.
Well done.
Thank you.
So, Rob, your impression of this game, I mean, we got our stat boy here telling us that the last time that these two teams met was in 1974.
1973.
Or 74. So the Blackhawks had that series 4-1. Well, real quickly here, I'm going to say that the Kings are going to take this one in 7 games. Schrembs, what do you got?
Kings win at home. That takes it through 6. I don't know. Kings on the road? What's the deal with the Kings on the road?
I honestly have no clue.
They shoot 2-3 times a period? That's pretty good.
Honestly, the ending stats there was like 22 to 36 in the shot, so it wasn't really that bad. The one thing I wanted to look at was the hits. We were not as physical as we usually are, and Chicago was more physical
Brown was
than
not
they
as
usually
physical as he usually is.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at the last 2 series, we were throwing 50 hits a game.
Yeah.
Whereas I haven't looked at the stats for this one quite yet, but it didn't seem as like it was that much.
Well, see, the one
They
thing
kept up. They kept up with us is basically what it comes down to.
See, that was just the thing. We talk about depth, okay? Chicago and LA both have depth. I think LA has the right depth. Chicago has too much superstar up front, and then some no-namers that you'll hear once in a while, like what happened to Andrew Shaw, Now we got this sad guy or sod guy, however you want to pronounce it. You just got guys rotating through the lineup, rounding out the third lines and fourth lines, but the first 2 lines for Chicago are pretty well set. LA, they have talent that's still there from last year's team. Nothing much has changed with LA, and Jonathan Quick is still as sturdy as ever. I give him all the credit in the world today because he got blasted with shots, and Crawford made 22 or 21 saves. So
that's as I was saying earlier. The Kings will lose 2-1, and Quick will still pop up with a 93 save percentage. Yeah. So you can't blame him for anything.
Is he
the
going to
thing
be
that drives me crazy about the Kings is the fact that you don't know where that goal is going to come from. It can come from anybody on the 4 lines, and as awesome as that is, it also gives me a slight heart attack every game.
Mm-hmm.
Is he the J.S. Jaguar, the losing goaltender in the Stanley Cup final, with the Vezina winning goaltender for the?
I think that's what people
for
thought
the
last
Conn
year, and then
Smythe?
we won anyways.
Yeah.
Well, I've never seen someone handed out a Conn Smythe from the conference finals that wasn't in the Stanley Cup finals, but I see where you're going.
Can you see where my prediction just went, though?
Yeah,
Yes,
I can see that. If LA
I saw
does
that.
go on, yeah, okay.
I saw that and I like it.
Yeah. Well, of course, this game is in the books, and as I said before, I'm saying LA in 7. You're saying LA takes it in 6. Rob, what is your prediction on this series?
As much as my heart wants to go LA, but my common sense goes Chicago, I'm just going to say Game 7 regardless.
Okay.
I think it is going to go 7. I think every single team is going to take it at home. The only game the Kings won against Chicago this year, I'm pretty sure the only game the Kings won against Chicago this year was actually in Chicago.
I think you are
I
correct.
know they beat us twice in LA, and I'm pretty sure they beat us once in Chicago too. So, and I was actually at the game in Chicago that we won. I believe that was like 5-4, and that was a ridiculous game.
Okay.
I think we just outworked them. They have a lot more talent than us. I think we're going to have to outwork them. It's basically what it's going to be.
LA is one of who said it? Their captain said it. They're not going to impress you in the game at all. It's going to be a very boring game to watch, but they're going to win it.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think all but 2 of their games so far in the playoffs have been decided by 1 goal. And they get that 1 goal and they sit back. And today that did not quite work out for them because then Chicago gets 2 quick ones and then we're like, oh no, we have to shoot the puck again.
Yeah, it was a pretty well balanced third period, but of course that second period was all Chicago, and well, so was the first period. But Justin Williams with a great bounce up front, beating Corey Crawford. Talk a little bit here about Crawford. I mean, is he really the goaltender that will take Chicago to the Stanley Cup Finals, or are we going to see like we saw in Pittsburgh, where suddenly he becomes Marc-Andre Fleury, and then hey, Ray Emery is your Thomas Vokoun?
He's a good goaltender, but he's not the goaltender. You have to think that the team in front of him, much like Marc-Andre Fleury, is giving him the credit that he deserves, or that he doesn't deserve,
right,
for that matter. Same thing with Antti Niemi.
That's what I was about to say.
Niemi is a good goaltender, but you put him in a place where the offense isn't as potent as it should be, and look what happens.
I think basically Crawford has only looked as good as he does is because in the first round they faced Minnesota. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of goal scoring.
Yeah, I know.
Now they're facing the Kings. Not a lot of goal scoring.
Yeah.
They almost lost it last series because Detroit can when Zetterberg and Datsuk actually feel like stepping up and playing. Mm-hmm. And you can't win a series with just 2 players. And Franzen decides to score a goal every once in a while,
and it also makes you wonder, is the offense so good in Chicago that you can make someone like Ray Emery look like a superstar this season?
That's true, and I think that's what they're doing in Pittsburgh for Vokoun at this point. Hey, come on. We talked about the depth in Pittsburgh, and I've been bragging about it through all the podcasts that we've done, all 6 of them now at this point. You're really hot on Boston. I'm hot on Pittsburgh. So
Fleury's not a playoff goaltender. You and I know this. Everybody knows this.
True.
Even this guy knows it.
But Tomas Vokoun on a 1-year, $1 million deal out of nowhere after Washington pretty much gave up on him. Pittsburgh said, Ray Shero, the Maverick of the East, if you will.
Wow, Maverick.
Ray was in Nashville with Vokoun and liked his work
ethic.
See? That's why Shero said, I'm going to bring in Vokoun to back up in case Fleury falters.
A 40-year-old Vokoun is still better than a 25-year-old Brent Johnson. Just keep that in mind.
Brent Johnson. Oh man.
Brent Johnson had his.
No,
times.
he didn't.
No,
he
never
did. He had nothing.
For about 3 games
How
at a
good was
time.
Brent Johnson?
There was.
See, you can't even get a word out.
I think Matthew Garon was better.
There was one 2 years ago.
There was one game.
Fleury started off 0-6, and so they put Brent Johnson in. He went 6-0, and they rode Brent Johnson for so long, and that's the year we had the Winter Classic in Pittsburgh. So that was 2 years ago. And then Fleury came back in, and Fleury went, I think, 12-0-1, something like that. And just Fleury regained his form.
You're right. That was 07-08. Yep. Yeah. No, I totally hear you. But who is your third string goaltender?
Ty Conklin.
Is it still Ty Conklin, or is it Matthew Garon?
Alex Auld?
If John was here, he would know where Ty Conklin is. I think he...
he's wherever the next Winter Classic's going to be.
No, it's the the goalie from the Frozen Four. They just signed. That's their third goaltender right now.
Okay.
I have no idea his name. He actually was back up a couple games the last games this season because Fleury was hit in the head.
That's right.
He actually just signed a 1 or 2 year entry contract with him or something like that.
There was only a network of information we could access.
Conklin.
Eric Hartzell.
Yeah, that's it.
Eric Hartzell.
For who?
Okay. Who did he come from?
Yeah.
Well, see, now you're asking too many questions.
Oh, jeez.
The,
I'm
the-
sorry.
The internet isn't
Lost
that
the
quick
frozen
around
form.
here.
Well, I can tell you he's from White Bear Lake, Minnesota, and he's
Oh,
24
yeah.
years old, and that's about it.
That's
Yoel
White
Janelle.
Bear Lake.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
I
Probably
Chicago.
played at Apple Valley then.
well, so it sounds like we're really going to cross into Pittsburgh and Boston, which is about to start up here in a few minutes as we're doing this. But Chicago and L.A., does L.A., I mean, with the shortened season in mind, I mean, for a few months there, we didn't see the L.A. that we saw last year, closing out hot, finishing in the 8th seed, and winning the Stanley Cup. We didn't see that team for the first couple of months in this shortened season.
I think we went 0-6
To
or
start.
something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was ridiculous. Like,
Oh, it
I
was
just,
pretty bad.
I mean, I was depressed a lot.
And did you guys not lose your home opener to Chicago?
Yeah, like 6-1.
Yeah, it was brutal.
Yeah, especially living in Chicago or outside of Chicago as I do, I got made fun of a lot for that. It was, yeah.
See if you can get the last laughter with
As
LA.
much as I would love it.
All right, well, let's transition over to Pittsburgh and Boston. We don't want to miss too much of that action as Tuukka Rask and Tomas Vokoun are going to do battle here. We're going to bring in our resident not Philadelphia expert.
Ooh.
Sorry, I'm going to.
whoa, whoa,
No,
whoa,
he's
whoa, whoa,
he's
whoa.
coming. He's coming.
Have another Yingling,
No,
Stearns.
Chris Mandia will be here in a little bit. He's our Philadelphia expert, but we have no need for him.
We'll see him in a few months.
Yeah, we'll see him in a few months for sure as we pick up Claude Giroux for Thomas Vanek in Buffalo. Yeah, that'll never happen. So, Phil Prevost, you are going to replace John Baranowski, who's our usual Pittsburgh expert. I think you're more of an expert than he is. John, if
Yeah.
you're listening.
He has a lot more useful information.
Useless?
information.
There
to say.
you go.
He knows how to search the internet better, is that what you're
He
saying?
does know how to search the internet, and usually it's on my phone, which he knows how to use my phone better than I do.
How's your phone bill looking?
Actually, the one time when I did have the 3G on my iPad, he did go over several times on my plan. So,
Oh, man.
yeah. So, John, if you're listening to this, yeah, you owe me.
Yeah, we got a job for you down here, Johnny. Well, Phil, Pittsburgh and Boston, I thought that Boston was going to be handily taken care of by Toronto. And, of course, it looked like Toronto was going to advance on for the first time in, 10 years? And that got stopped short.
Yeah, I mean, they were saying, I think Toronto had like a 99.7% chance of winning that series. They were up 4-1, and at 0.3 or whatever that statistical anomaly, they won that series.
Yeah.
And that gave them a lot of life.
That third period was wild.
It was, and being in DC now, I was watching the Caps game, and that game 7 wasn't entertaining at all. So
that was horrible.
I'm glad I switched over in time to watch that great comeback.
Yeah, so now put the goaltending into perspective here. We got Tuukka Rask. Obviously, he's filling some big shoes for Tim Thomas, who decided to take a one-year hiatus. I think he's got big shoes. I think Tim Thomas is a solid goaltender. He's big.
Cinderella story.
He has Cinderella
Please.
story, but Tuukka
He-
Rask is
he's-
smaller and limber,
if
and Tim
I
Thomas
may,
was bigger and
If
bulkier.
I may, he's the Jim Carrey of 2010. Please.
Alrighty then.
Please, 1 year wonder, nothing more. Now the Islanders have to pay him, which is not uncommon for the Islanders to pay players who aren't playing for the organization anymore.
Oh, poor Charlie Wang over there. Yeah, he's just getting the short end of every stick there. Yeah, no matter how long it is with Alexei Yashin or Rick DiPietro, of course. Yeah, but Tuukka Rask versus Tomas Vokoun. Are we going to see Marc-Andre Fleury? Is Vokoun going to show his human side and lose Game 1?
I don't think he's going to lose Game 1. Just being in Pittsburgh, the crowd, with the depth that Pittsburgh has. I mean, when you have a fourth line that could be a first, second line, any other team, you should have no problem.
Mm-hmm.
I do think you're going to see Vokoun get pulled. And I think once you see Vokoun get pulled, I'm going to say Game 3 is going to be a bad start. Fleury's going to come in. He's going to bail him out. They're going to get close. They're going to lose Game 3. But by 1 goal, they're going to come back and get in within 1, and then you're going to see you're going to start with Fleury. And I think that Fleury's had enough time to sit down, reevaluate where he was. I mean, he had a shutout Game 1.
True.
Now he's got I think a 3.4 goals against right now, and Thomas Vokoun has a 1.4, I think.
So is Fleury going to win them the cup?
I think together they're going to have to do it right now. But I mean, if you're scoring 4.3 goals a game, your goaltending is not really that much of an issue as long as you can outscore the opposition.
Patrick Sharp has 8 goals and Crosby has 7.
Tied with
So
Dupuis.
now, Schrembs, where
Point.
does this all fit in?
The moment they signed Jerome McGinley, it was a fail or success season. Anything besides the cup is a failure.
Exactly.
So if they fall short of expectations, what happens to that team in the offseason? Do they ditch Marc-Andre Fleury because of what happened? Do they go and try and acquire another goaltender?
I think they do.
I think you have to.
I think they will acquire another goaltender. I think Fleury still has 2 years on his contract, I believe. But you mean you get the Marc-Andre Fleury from 2008 and 2009 when he took them to the Cup Finals 2 years in a row and won in Game 7, or you're going to see the last 3 years where last year, yeah, that was a lot of Fleury's fault.
He's
year
not a
against
playoff
Fleury.
goaltender.
By the way, referencing that goal, or that should have been goal by Lidstrom in Game 7 there, he did have a testicular pull. I think I referenced that in the Hockey Week episode with John Baranowski, that, Lidstrom was just a couple steps short because of that. If Lidstrom if he was in full capacity at that last second shot,
That save wasn't that great. It was routine.
Oh,
he was diving across the crease, yes,
Routine
but
save.
if that shot was a little bit lower and a little bit quicker, Fleury's upper body was covering the top of the net. The lower
Lidstrom
body.
is 60 years old at that point.
He was okay. All right, continue on. I'm sorry,
Oh no!
but yes, if we have Fleury back in his original form,
then you got to keep riding him, and he's got so much potential. And if John Baranowski was here, he would say that how Pittsburgh has a history of getting these great prospects and destroying them.
but remember,
And-
Buffalo had Tom Barrasso first.
That's very true. So, I mean, I think my 91-92 Cup history is not clear, but I believe that Barrasso didn't start the playoffs the 1 year.
No, he
Came
didn't.
in for an injured player, and they rode him to
Who
the
was it at that
playoffs.
time? Shrems, do you remember who the goaltender was at the
It
time?
wasn't Sidorkowicz, was it?
I think it was Sidorkowicz.
Oh, if I just pulled that out of where
if
you
you
know
just-
where
Yeah.
after 7 rum and cokes.
So we're talking the 90-91 season, right?
But you have to wonder if you don't have Fleury back and you try and trade him, somebody's going to be buying. St. Louis is going to be buying. Florida, Tampa Bay, somebody in there is going to be looking for a goaltender. Can you? What's his salary? Do you know off the top
I
of your
have
head?
no idea.
It's a lot.
Cap Geek. Hit the Cap Geek
I'll
button.
take a look.
He
Um,
is getting paid a lot, but I just don't feel that he's going to go. I mean, the whole team is still
But
behind him.
do you free up cap space to bring back a Ginla? That is the nastiest 6 players I have ever seen in my hockey career.
By the way, the correct answer was Frank Pietrangelo. So
Oh,
yeah, just so close, so close.
John's
Right
probably-
church,
John's-
wrong
John,
pew.
if he's listening, this will be like,
He's probably shouting the answer the entire time.
How much is Fleury making? All the way down at the bottom, Stearns.
But
Is
I
it
mean,
at the bottom?
Pittsburgh
Hold
still
on.
has cap space this year because they traded a couple people away during the year because the Jordan Stahl trade. He has a good 8-9 mil left of cap space.
Fleury, 2 years left, $5 million a year.
That's not
Okay.
bad for
That's
a
pretty good.
goaltender.
That's pretty good.
For-
Usually you pay
of-
them
of
6 or
his
7.
regular season caliber. Yeah,
and he's
pretty
been
good.
dedicated. He's been there for about 6-7 years now. I mean,
Yeah, he was the first person. He was the first piece.
But who do they have to sign in the offseason? That's the million
Well,
dollar question.
the million-dollar
Who's
question,
getting a
yeah.
raise in that
Well,
organization?
I know you've Cooks
well,
up.
Please,
Um,
I could pay Cook on my teacher's salary.
so we're looking at the 13-14 season, right? Who's up for UFA?
Yes, sir.
I don't.
Okay, Jerome McGinley, obviously.
That'll do it.
Brandon Morrow, of
Murray.
course. And Murray as well. Tyler Kennedy's an RFA. Matt Cook. Pascal Dupuis.
Ooh,
You got to sign
Don't
him
keep
back.
Dupuis.
Yeah, but he's only getting 1.5 now. He
Dupuis
might
ain't
actually
making
go
1.5
up.
next
No,
season.
he'll
I'll
be
tell you that
making
much.
at least 3.
Yeah,
Um,
3.5, maybe 4.
Tanner Glass, no, he's
Tanner
good for
Glass
another
will be
year. Well, he was a good pickup from Winnipeg. I'll give him credit for that. I
He
mean,
was out. They benched him or
He-
was scratched.
I thought he
for-
rounded things out nicely, but I guess he's not. The chemistry of each team is different. I'll tell
Right,
you.
right.
Craig Adams is up, and he's well.
Buffalo
into-
native.
Well, he's good. He's a good playoff player.
He
He
is a good-
always does well in the playoffs.
That's because he's been in playoffs with 6 different teams in the past 6 years.
Hey,
Justin
experience,
Jeffries,
experience.
another guy that's up.
Jeffrey
He's an RFA.
never panned out to what
He
he was
never took
supposed to
off,
be.
no.
Yeah,
But he did take off in a game against Buffalo last year.
of course he did.
What they need to do is Bo Bennett. He's a good winger. They need to start bringing him up and playing with Crosby because he's going to be a good winger with Crosby one day.
Yep. Mark Eaton's another one on the cusp there.
Mark Eaton, please.
He'll
I can
retire-
play
well, he was
defense
supposed to
like Mark
retire.
Eaton.
Yeah.
He was about to file his paperwork for retirement, and people were calling Ray Shero, being like, "Hey, can we talk to this guy?" And Ray's like, well, I mean, if other teams are looking at him, and
Maybe we're missing something.
and we're missing something, and so they brought him. And when they brought him back, they lost 3 games total the rest of the season when he was when he was playing. He was part of that undefeated march, which is first in history.
Robert Bertuzzo is the last one, and of course Eric Hartzell, who got the 1-year deal. He is on the cusp as well, but he, for a third-string goaltender, is making $1.595.
That's not bad.
That's pretty good for a third-string goaltender.
That's not league minimum. I'll tell you that
that's
much.
for sure.
But I mean, this year's not even the big one. Next year's when you have Malkin coming up.
Oh, that's right.
Letang's coming up.
Yep.
And I really think
as well. Yep.
I think what will happen is Crosby's going to restructure his contract to give up some money to keep Malkin there.
Well, you're going to have to dump off a lot of people because you got Engeland's up as well, and I think he's one of those players that you're going to want to hold on to. I like him. On
for
that team.
aggressiveness purposes. Nobody else is fighting on that team.
No,
That's
exactly.
the problem.
He's the only aggressor on that team.
Yeah.
England is the only one.
And Tanner Glass sometimes, but he's not the heavyweight.
When he's in the lineup.
Right.
Yeah.
Juicy Jokinen, you can get rid of him.
But Jokinen, we're not even paying for this year. Carolina's still paying for him this year. It was pretty much just here, borrow him.
Dumped it off, yes,
Yeah.
of course. And then, Tanner Glass, as you said before. Brandon Sutter, Chris Kunitz, that's a huge
They have
one
to
that's
sign
coming
Kunitz, too.
up. Kunitz and Evgeny Malkin are the big 2 next season.
Kunitz
Letang
is a
sign up next year?
leech. Kunitz is not a skilled player. He's a leech.
Really?
Wherever he was, he leached off the talent around him.
Well,
Getzlaff
that's
and
true.
Perry.
No, he's leeching off
Perry.
off the talent. Yes, that's true. In Anaheim, yes.
Please.
Kunitz is pretty much the only grinder you have on Pittsburgh, though. He's one of
He's not a
3
grinder,
players
he's a
that will
leech.
actually he's one of
He
3
mooches.
players that will actually go into the corners on that
He
team.
mooches off the talent around him to look good.
That's what a grinder does, though. You don't mooch. You actually go get the puck out of the corner to go have somebody else score the goal.
He's like
And he'll go in front of the net.
he's like
And-
Mike Knuble. Mike Knuble was a terrible hockey player, but he played in all the right places with all the right
Exactly.
people.
And it's like the one thing, like I love Evgeny Malkin. Don't get me wrong, but when he wants to play, he plays. But
And when he gets hurt, he gets hurt.
He gets hurt and hurt. And my suggestion is he doesn't play Florida ever again. Scratch him every time.
and Buffalo.
And Buffalo, yes.
Yep.
Those 2 teams do not play him whatsoever. And then Crosby, don't play against the Islanders because every puck that's hit him in the face has been against the Islanders.
And could Crosby do us a favor and not play Buffalo ever again because he's got Buffalo's
He's
number?
got Buffalo's number. But Crosby's playing without the shield today.
Ooh.
He was approved. He's been practicing all week without the mouth guard.
Yep.
I don't think it's a safe
Do
idea.
you go
but-
after the jaw? I would.
Well, yeah, you're going to have people doing
Yeah,
that
if you're
in
Brad
Boston.
Marchand, sure. And if
And
you were
Lucic.
Lucic, yep.
Char. I mean, Char just has to
Or
like
Thornton.
breathe on him or actually, with his height,
Or Horton.
kind of hands with you.
Horton and Thornton.
Yeah.
Thornton, here's a Horton who? All right, well, the game's getting started up here. Let's wrap it up here. Let's get some final thoughts from David Moran, our just hockey aficionado here, who has been watching plenty of hockey for plenty of years here. We're not going to give his age out here because he's ancient. So, Dave, what are your impressions of this year's playoffs? I mean, we've had
Third-party candidate.
a third-party
Let's hear
candidate.
it.
Yes, this is somebody with unbiased
This is my
opinions
Jerry
here.
Springer final thoughts.
48 games in this season, and now it comes down to these playoffs. What do you think about 4 teams who have won, pretty much the last 4 Stanley Cups being in the Eastern Conference Finals? What do you think about how this is going, and who's it going to be? Is it going to be Pittsburgh, Chicago, Boston, LA, Pittsburgh,
Who
LA?
gets the asterisk next to the Stanley Cup?
Exactly. That's yeah. Chalk that one up to the New Jersey Devils back in '95 too, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd like to give some credit to Chicago for kind of rebounding. They had that lapse last year, but it seems like they've rebuilt their team to be a cup caliber team. And if they do win it and they have the asterisks, whether they have an asterisk or not, they still played a season. They played well. They dominated, I'd say, most of the season, and they deserve it. Whether it's 48-82, the league didn't change drastically after this last lockout like it did in 05. So
well, the changes might be coming next year for all we know.
that is true. But I would
No touch icing.
Bigger nets, no goalies.
Yeah, the new Nike equipment, so it's smaller, leaner, faster.
Fedorov will love that. Yeah. Oh wait, he's no longer playing.
Yeah, goalies get 2x4s for sticks now.
Oh, Hextall, yeah. Oh, boy, we're throwing back to old school hockey.
Yeah, but I don't think you have a watered down product by any means. With a shortened season, you're still getting quality hockey in the playoffs. It's the best kind of hockey to watch, and I think it's all good viewing.
Think of it this way: nobody took anything away from the Heat last season.
I
That's
know,
true.
but yet
Dare
they're
I
still
bring
doing
basketball
it. Well,
into this?
They're still
This,
relevant.
this isn't
right now.
ESPN, but I mean,
Ugh.
Yeah. Well,
I'd
they
have
cover
to-
the spelling bees, so who cares? That's not real.
Spelling
sports.
bee in basketball.
That's
No
the
room
only-
for hockey this year.
No, sir.
are we gonna get a free agent?
Yeah.
LeBron James this year.
Yeah, right.
This is gonna be Luongo.
Oh, God.
Forsaken on Vancouver. For shame.
The Grizzlies.
For shame.
Oh, forget it.
Yeah, he'll
No.
be our tight end.
Yeah,
I'll take
sure.
LeBron James. I like what he's got to
Yeah,
offer.
sure. We'll bring back the Buffalo Braves up there.
Yeah, right.
So, any big surprises for you watching these playoffs?
Any big surprises?
The lack of shots from LA.
No, that's one for the
The,
conference finals.
You don't watch the West Coast.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think it's the glorification of the goaltenders, and you know, they have an easy night being like in the low 20s, and you know, I'm calling out Corey Crawford.
Okay.
It is what it is. But I mean, a lot of it comes down to defense that comes in front of them. You know, you have a stellar defense, even a stellar offense. Your goalie's going to have an easy night, and you know, I think with when you got a barrage of shots like we saw Jonathan Quick face today, you know,
Oh,
he doesn't
he's
get the
definitely-
credit he deserves because he got the loss.
He's the
Yeah.
better goaltender.
That's true.
Between the
Hands
two,
down
for
is
sure.
the better goaltender.
Well, he's
Right.
proven, yeah. Now, the thing is, you know, I got into a big argument about maybe 10 years ago about the fact that you need a star quality goaltender in order to win the Stanley Cup.
Sure, absolutely.
Crawford is, in my mind, not star quality. So I don't think Chicago wins the
Neither
Cup
was
this year.
Niemi.
Antti Niemi, though, proved himself during the season with the numbers that he had, though.
Wonderful. Now what is he doing in San Jose?
Well, he took them to the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs.
But he's
and-
Just like every goaltender before him.
Okay,
He's starting
all
his
right,
career
all
just
right,
like
all right.
just like Nabokov did.
But
I mean,
yeah, but you're not seeing Gustafsson taking a team. You're not seeing, you know, the third stringer. You're not seeing who did Buffalo pick up in that trade from Minnesota. I mean,
Hackett.
Hackett. You're not seeing, you know, with Jeff Hackett's nephew take the team to the Stanley
No,
Cup.
that's the thing is you don't necessarily need a star quality goaltender. You need a goaltender that's just gotten hot right then.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, star quality helps to have someone consistent through the season and the playoffs to get into the playoffs and then keep playing. But I mean, just to squeak in and then play like last year the Kings did, or even travel back to Artis Urbe. Not superstar quality, but got him all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals.
But he was proven in San Jose before he went to
I
Carolina.
wouldn't really say
Urbe was
proven.
washed up in Carolina.
Yeah.
He just
Washed
cut
up,
a
still got you
a
to the-
Ron Francis hot
still
team.
got you into a really hot streak, and that's what happens.
Is
when
that the
you don't
new
have
one?
when you don't have a star quality goaltender, you get a hot streak goaltender, and you make it to. I mean,
That's
Van
the new
Briesbroek-
NHL. That's
Okay,
the new
I
NHL.
agree with him on that.
Exactly.
I actually
No,
agree
that's
with you on
great,
that
that's
because
great.
where did Cam Ward get Carolina this year? You know, a hot start, and that was it.
He was
And
hurt.
then-
He was hurt for
but
half
he-
the season.
Exactly, but he got
Right.
hurt half the season. When he came back, there was nothing going.
I think it's all a matter of when a team is finally firing on all four cylinders and kind of finds their game, which I think LA did, because they had a rough start to the year. They found their game, they kept chugging along, and now look where they're at. They're in the Western Conference Finals.
Well, what are your predictions on this? Who do you think are going to be our Stanley Cup contenders?
I think Chicago's going to dominate. Sorry, Rob, but I think Chicago's going to dominate like they did today. And I think they'll go to 6 because
Okay.
I do like LA at home. But they'll go to 6, they'll wrap it up, and then we'll see them. The Pittsburgh-Boston series, I see that one going to probably 7. That one I think is going to be a grinder. I think
Okay.
that one's going to 7. I think Boston will give them a run for their money because they're they'll knock the snot out of you kind of team.
Okay.
And but I think Pittsburgh can play with them. They have the talent to, and you'll see Pittsburgh, Chicago in the cup, and I like Chicago taking the cup.
All right. Now going back to Schrembs here. Schrembs, you said L.A.
LA 7, Boston 7.
L.A. 7 and Boston 7. Okay. Wow. Well, I'm going to say L.A. 7 as I said before, and I'm going to say Pittsburgh in 6.
Pittsburgh did sweep Boston this year.
Ah, there it is.
Doesn't mean
Yep.
anything in the playoffs.
Mm,
Yeah, it's a different
no,
animal.
no,
They did
yeah.
sweep 'em.
That is a good point. So
Who was starting in goal for Pittsburgh?
Twice.
Khudobin. Oh wait, no. Oh, I thought you said for Boston.
For Pittsburgh, it was Vokoun twice.
Vokoun twice.
Vokoun twice and Fleury one. And
Wow.
I think the loss was to
Comment
lost
retracted.
You guys only played them 3 times?
We only played 3 times with the short season.
Yeah, because they're
Usually
not
we
in
play
the
'em
division.
4.
Yeah.
So we only Philly. We only played.
I think 4 times.
We played Philly 4 times, the Islanders 5, and like this.
Yeah, it's weird
It's
because
just
they did
weird
the
how they
wild
did it.
card games and the scheduling formats and
I
that.
know we played Chicago 4 times, so that's. I know we play Chicago 4 times as LA, so that's why I was a little confused with that. So
Okay.
we're not in the same division. So I don't know.
It's the new NHL.
Yeah. Well, next season should be fun when we have the realignment, which is going to be a real big monster. We'll bring you guys back in for that.
Oh,
That's
that
for
will be
sure.
a great conversation.
Yeah. All right. Well, Brian, Dave, any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I'm glad I made the drive all the way over to your apartment for this great podcast. Thanks for having me on.
I regret the hour drive because I'm a quarter tank less on gas.
I'll pay
Nobody's
for
paying
your
for
gas.
it.
I'll pay for your gas.
Okay, now I'm okay with it.
Yes, usually we have Mr. Schrembs here on the phone, but it's great to have you guys all in person here, and we will get together real soon, maybe even the Stanley Cup Finals, and do this again, or maybe even during the Western and Eastern Conference Finals next week, so we'll find out. Next week's my birthday. We should all get together again for that and do a podcast then.
I got you a podcast for your birthday.
Oh,
It's an easy
here,
birthday
here,
gift.
I'll show you where to put that podcast. Hey, there we go, and that's right. Phil is 2 days before mine, so.
Actually, is a game. There's supposed to be 2 games on my birthday.
All right. Well, there we go. So let's close it out here. This is David Stearns for Brian Schrembs, Phil Prevost, Rob Kelley, and Dave Moran, and saying enjoy the hockey, everybody. And as always, don't stop believing.